Today, we're going to talk a little bit about mergers and acquisitions. I'm Danielle Marie, founder of Alley-Oop. So, I've had an opportunity to experience merging new companies with each other more than once. And I've had an opportunity to experience it from both sides. So, being the employee that is a part of the company that was acquired and experiencing that the parent company coming in and making change and bringing us into the fold, basically. And then I've also experienced it from the other end, being one of the executives that is involved in and responsible for merging new companies that have come into the company and bringing departments together and doing some of that work. So I've had an opportunity to sort of see both perspectives, and I think I could share a little bit on each of those. So when I experienced it from the perspective of a staff seat, I at first was really excited because I thought this new company that had acquired us had a lot of resources. They had a lot of knowledge from being in business for a long time. And I was very hopeful at where it might take us. I, um, I found that at the beginning it was kind of slow and not much happened. And I don't think that's unusual. As soon as an acquisition happens, there's a lot of time spent figuring out, okay, what are we doing now? Even though that's already being talked about before the acquisition even happens. But when it actually happens, it's a different story. So, it was kind of quiet at the beginning, and then it slowly started trickling in the change. And it was such a drastic culture change because the company that I originally was working for was a little slower paced. It was a little more personal in the way that they did things, where the company that had acquired us was very, very corporate. So there was a lot of culture clashing in that. Also, the customer in particular was incredibly different. So although they were bringing a lot of expertise in that we didn't have, we also had a different type of customer that required a different recruitment, a different experience when they had become a part of us. So I found that the mistake that happened there in that acquisition is, and this could be argued, but this is my personal opinion, that it was sort of like come become part of us and be us, rather than recognizing the differences in the two and then learning how to work side by side with those differences. So I think the best advice I can give if you're in a company that's being acquired is try to be patient, try to really pay attention to what's happening. Know that there's going to be a lot of change that's pretty inevitable. That not all the I shouldn't say that, not all the time. I mean, some companies get acquired and nothing changes. But if they are trying to integrate into the parent company, then yes, there will be a lot of change. And then you have to decide along the way, is this still the company you want? Is it the culture that you signed up for, and is the job enjoyable, and is this where you want to work? So I think that I remember that there was a consulting company that came in after we had been acquired for some time, and they interviewed everybody in the company, in the company I was currently with. And at the end, they gave this report that I remember feeling just, it was so beautiful. Got to the core of what the company was and what it stood for, and even what we could do to improve and grow. And it was just so well done. And everybody felt that way. And even today, after many, many years of experience and working in a lot of different companies and environments, I still look back and feel that that was the right course of action, that recommendation that was given. However, it did not fit the plans of what the parent company wanted to do, the CEO of that company. And it was kind of thrown out the door. And that was really disappointing and heartbreaking for the staff because they had spent a lot of time putting that together and working with the advisement firm that had come in, and to just kind of see it ignored, that was heartbreaking for people. And in retrospect, that's probably a big red flag too, in terms of if you're going to be happy in the job. I stayed with that company for a while, and I learned a lot being there, but I don't think it was ever the same. It was never the same. But it also taught me a lot of what not to do when I was involved in mergers or acquisitions later. So later in my career, I experienced the opposite of trying to make change and, seeing the same things that I felt in other people when I was on the other side of the table. But I definitely felt like I had some perspective and did not go in and just say, this is the way it's got to be, everybody. That I felt like I was as open as I could be. I definitely had a charge from the CEO, and, uh, he had made a decision of where he felt like things needed to go. And so that was my job to move things in that direction. But I felt like we managed that differently. We let people give opinions and be involved and give their feedback, and we listened. And although not everybody's always going to be happy, and certainly when you're merging companies or divisions, there's a lot of people they don't want to let go of where they were and the company that they know and they love. And that's totally understandable because, when you put your whole heart into something every day and then someone else comes along and says, oh, no, we're changing it. That's hard. That's hard to do. And it's a loss. It's a loss for people. And I felt that way. When I was staff of a company that had been acquired, I felt like it was a loss of something that was really great and it was gone. And I think that has to be recognized when we are working with acquisitions. But if you're on the other side and you're going in and making change, I think that communication and being open and here and listening to really what's working and then coming to a solution of how do we do this together. Sometimes that's not the best solution. Sometimes it's better to leave brands apart, but sometimes it doesn't make sense for the market, even as much as you might like your brand and everybody loves their brand but the market's confused because there's too many brands doing the same thing or it just doesn't make sense to them. Then I mean it might be time to merge and do something different, or change or find a new brand that kind of brings everybody together. And that's a little bit of what we sort of moved in. And sometimes it's good to take a little bit from everybody and not lose the good that's in each of those acquisitions when bringing something together and creating something new. You could still be a strong company and have some change. And bringing acquisition allows that sometimes to take something that's built and bring the good from it. Many times this happens also because you are combining resources and scaling. It allows you to scale in a better way. And that doesn't always mean layoffs. That could very well mean that there allows more resources for additional things that are needed. And that's always good. I think part of the process of doing this successfully is awareness and understanding. And we've talked about that. Understanding key players, that's really critical, and finding your cheerleaders. Who are the people that everybody looks to? Who are the leaders in the company, the parent company and the acquired company that people trust and they look to? And you want to spend time with these people, understand who they are, why people trust them. Do they have good ideas? They probably do. And bringing them into the mix of decision making, because no merger goes well in silos. That's not ever a good place to be when we're trying to bring something together. So finding the people that are respected and are the leaders, but then also recognizing the people that are excited about what's happening and having them involved in the process is critical too. And then finally, I'll mention that this cannot be accomplished if the leaders in those companies are not on board with what's happening. Because people respect the leaders, because these are people that have spent time with the staff, sometimes for 20 years even. They know their company, they know their people, and their people follow them. And if they're not on board with what's going on, that's never a good thing. It's not going to succeed. You're always going to have a lot of problems. That's something that really needs to be looked at early on. And are they bought into what's happening? If the leaders of the companies that are being acquired in particular are not on board, there has to be a lot of time spent with them to figure out why and to bring them around, hopefully, whether that's decisions that are changed or whatever needs to happen to get everybody on the same page. Because if everyone's not on the same page, it doesn't mean the merger can't happen and the merger can't eventually be successful. But the road to getting that done will be very, very rocky and much harder if everyone's not on board. But I'll end with this: mergers and acquisitions are hard work, and they're scary and they're exciting. It can be with however you look at it. And in some environments, you'll be disappointed. In some environments, you'll be thrilled. There is good and bad that can happen in all of them. And if you're involved in that on either end, I hope that you go in with a positive attitude and hope for the best. And the best thing you can do is stay positive and keep your eyes and ears open and pay attention to what's happening. And if the company goes in a direction that you're not happy with or comfortable with, then there's a clear sign that it's probably time to look for another opportunity. But if it is going in a way that you are excited about and happy and you think, yeah, this is a really great opportunity, then I encourage you to lean in.